Good morning, my friends. Well, today we are in the Gospel of John, verses 16 through 21. Let us hear what God has to say to us. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have eternal life. For God did not send the Son into the world to judge the world, but that the world might be saved through him. He who believes in him is not judged. He who does not believe has been judged already, because he has not believed in the name of the only begotten Son of God. This is the judgment, that the light has come into the world, and men love the darkness rather than the light, for their deeds were evil. For everyone who does evil hates the light and does not come to the light for fear that their deeds will be exposed. But he who practices the truth comes to the light, so that his deeds may be manifest as having been wrought in God. Thanks be to God for the reading of his word and for the preaching of it. One of the most popular genres in television today is the live police chase, true crime stuff. And when you, the viewer, get to join the police squad and pursue the criminal for about 20 minutes, it's an exciting adventure. It often ends up at night with you in a helicopter. In front of you is a giant searchlight aimed at the victim on the ground. The offender, of course, does all he can to dodge the searchlight, dashing this way and that, dashing under hedges, between trees, under cars, behind walls, but eventually he ends up with nowhere to go and frozen to the spot. Exposed and condemned, like the hedgehog caught in the headlights of your driveway, he curls up tight on the ground, tight against the light, and the ground team moves in. For everyone who does evil hates the light and does not come to the light, lest their deeds should be exposed. John tells us this. I expect in most cases the offenders have been living in the dark for quite some time, perhaps months or even years. Night is the time to steal, the time to escape jail. Most crime is committed in the dark. The dark world of crime is glamorized in 100 movies. The murky alley, the shady street corner, the stark basement with a single overhead bulb, and the endless poker game, Godfather figures sitting around sucking spaghetti in back rooms. There is the shadowy world criminals learn to inhabit, where evil breeds evil deeds. The underground world, the world most of us never see, the world most of us shun, and that world shuns the light of day that hides from the white light of justice. And it's got its own kind of attraction to those who live in it. People who learn to live in the dark enjoy it, love it, and people love darkness rather than light. John tells us after Nicodemus comes to see Jesus. Of course, all of this is miles away from your reality, and the TV channels want to reassure you about that. That's why they put us behind the searchlight in the helicopter, never in front of it, because that's where we want to be, behind the light, shining it on others, training a spotlight on some multiple offenders. that will remind us there's always someone worse off than we are. And somehow or another, that's comforting. This is the way so much news commentary gets attention. It divides the world into the nice and neatly into innocent and guilty. And we are the innocent viewers, of course. And we get a chance to spotlight and convict the guilty. So we're made to side with Bill O'Reilly against the liberals, or with Jon Stewart against James Cramer, or whatever. Whichever way, we're always in the helicopter behind the searchlight. The others are the ones who need exposing. Strangely, we get a certain amount of satisfaction in others being exposed. That means the spotlight's not on us. We occupy the moral high ground and hover above the guilty, exposing and condemning those on the ground. I mean, when Bernie Madoff is at last brought out into the open and his evil deeds are exposed to public glare, we're delighted. When AIG employees get their bonuses disclosed after years in the underworld of finance, or when AIG's hapless chairman blushes and squirms under interrogation, turning and curling in the dark as the light moves closer and closer. For everyone who does evil hates the light and does not come to the light, lest their deed should be exposed, John tells us, as the enemies of God are gradually uncovered. All very satisfying, until, of course, someone nudges the spotlight and it catches our face. Why is it that one of the commonest dreams people has is that of being caught naked in public, acting in a high school play, delivering a commencement address, or reading in church? There we are, unclothed. We, like Adam, are naked and needing to hide. We fear someone seeing who we truly are. Fear that it's only a matter of time before someone's going to call our bluff. Why the anxiety? Why the fear? Presumably because we know there's always something in us to condemn, maybe lots, and someone to do the condemning. So we prefer the fragile security of darkness, bearing vast areas of our lives. We learn how to curl up like a hedgehog in the dark, tight against the light. And of course, it's even worse when the light happens to be the light of God. Everyone who does evil hates the light and will not come into the light for fear their deeds will be exposed. This passage isn't simply an exercise in the psychology of denial. It's about what happens when God gets to work, when the searchlight of God searches us out. Now things are far more uncomfortable, for we can always hide from others, but not from God, not from the God who sees all and knows all. It's all known to God, all open to the divine scrutiny, all seen by the unseen seer, the God unto whom all hearts are open and from whom no secrets are hidden. There's no bush we can dart under, no wall to hide behind, no hiding place we can scuttle to. All is visible to God, to the searchlight of God. In the words of our hymn, it causes me to tremble. And Nicodemus too, no doubt. Nicodemus, who peeks out of his own darkness at night, he's puzzled by Jesus' curious about the miracles, wanting to know more, but likely sensing some parts of his life were murkier than they should be. But now he's met by God's light direct, God's light in one man, Jesus, God's light in person, and it's focused right on him. Nicodemus, searching him, exposing him, laying him bare. Now he finds his own night was darker than he thought. He couldn't cope with these strange words about having to go into the womb and be born a second time, about having to trust, believe in this Jesus. Whoever does not believe stands condemned already because he has not believed in the name of God's one and only Son. So Nicodemus slips out of the story back into the night. We love darkness and can't believe we can be anything other than condemned. But God so loved the world, he sent his Son not to condemn the world, but that the world might be saved through him. Saved, rescued. But if the light were searching for us, only to rescue us, not condemn us, rescue us from darkness, does that put a different spin on it? What else can he do? And what else can we do when we are met by God's only Son, God's searchlight, focused on us? What can we do except curl up in our own darkness, exposed and condemned, tight against the light? The only thing we can do is wait. What is this searching light? The light that searches the darkness and searches our inner darkness. Suppose we got it wrong. What if the light isn't to be feared? What if the light doesn't have to be hated or shunned? What if the contrast in our passage really mean something? We love darkness and hate the light of God, but God so loved the world, including those in the darkness. Well, it's a nice thought, but how can that happen if we love darkness rather than light? How can this Jesus rescue us if we are forever curled up in our own darkness, tight against the light? How? Only if he enters that darkness himself, is hinted at here in the passage. In this coded language in the verses above about the Son of Man being lifted up is an allusion to Jesus being lifted up on the cross on Good Friday, the day of darkness. Yes, Nicodemus may have slipped away into the dark, but Jesus doesn't leave him there. Judas goes out into the night, but Jesus doesn't abandon him there. No, he goes out into the same night. He becomes the guilty one. He is searched out in the garden at night. He is condemned by the high priest at night. He takes the journey into the very pit of human darkness, where evil breeds evil deeds. At Golgotha, he's condemned with the condemned, accused with the accused, and those we love to expose and convict, the serial offenders, the child molesters, and those we want to shove into the darkness are his companions. He journeys into those parts of ourselves we'd rather forget, the places we spend our lives trying to keep tight. There he goes into the unspeakable depths we've created for ourselves by shutting out God, shutting out God's light. There he goes, naked, and there was darkness over the whole land. There are no depths to which we can plunge that God's light has not already shone on. The light of forgiveness, the light of rescue, the light of love. If it's true, if that's true, there's no need to fear being exposed by this light. No need to live in some underworld. No need to curl up tight against the light. Now we can delight in the light. That's why John ends this passage, not in the dark, but by telling us what it means to come into the light. As he puts it, to live in the light. Whoever lives by the truth comes to the light, so that it may be plainly seen that what they do has been done through God. It's an odd expression. Perhaps the best way to think of it comes from music. The French composer Debussy once said that he wanted his music to sound as if it were lit from behind. Lit from behind. And that's what the music sounds like. Every note is transparent to every other note behind it. Every harmony translucent to the ones behind. It's as if a huge, warm light were shining from behind the music. So it is if we come to the light, live in the light. Now, we're not standing behind the searchlight, and we're not standing under it, condemned by it. We're being lit from behind. I think of a young man I heard earlier on a podcast this week about a remarkable ministry that he set up in Durham among young people at risk. He talked about the way those who had been rejected at home, rejected at school, find a kind of welcome they've never experienced before. The unmistakable, unconditional welcome of the Son of God. There is something about him as he spoke, something we could all so plainly see in him, hear in his voice, an unhurried confidence, no fear, as though he were lit from behind. And perhaps we may dare to think of ourselves here this morning, here where the searchlight of God has come to search us out again, having heard his voice, having heard the call to trust him again. We can leave here without fear. And when we go outside, it will be as if he is shining from behind us, which, of course, he is. And all God's children said, Amen.